And they let it on there. So I don't understand. We don't care. Because what he said, she said, well, she has so many meetings. You just piggyback on a meeting with other reps. And Leslie said, piggyback on the she did not come. Betty Jean did not show up. She had some reps. That's why she it's not someone live from but I'm glad I live in my area down here in the area. I'm a second, but even between my district and one, I can tell even started out I don't know what hold up or what, but I know it hasn't been good.
Morning. That's all right. You can talk about
but yeah, I'm glad. I'm so glad. And just
I have the same shirt. I got it. Yeah, that's it.
You don't have nothing to do with me.
So we're going to go ahead and get started about 5 minutes. We'll let everybody know. If you have not gotten a drink already, please go ahead and do so.
She was there, she introduced her, but she introduced
That's what they do. That's what the volunteers. We got 75 volunteers out there.
Oh, somebody sitting there. Wasn't running. Oh. And
All right, good morning, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to Satellite Hours. Give yourselves a round of applause. That is so. Try again. Come on. Everybody it's Friday, folks. I don't know if that's not something to be happy about, but hey, I am. How's everybody doing this morning? Okay, cool. Well, I'm glad to have you here. My name is Aaron Hall, I'm Community Liaison. Here we have Daniela. Say hi, Daniela.
hi, Daniela.
And we got Reggie. Everybody loves Reggie. And we have Miss Aisha. Hey, Aisha. Ah, that's the energy I want to hear. Okay, cool. So give you guys a quick update. We will have our District 1 monthly meeting. Who knows where it's going to be tomorrow?
I do.
You have a microphone, so go ahead.
The monthly District 1 meeting will be here at the Artist Village in the Studio Theater area. Woo!
I like this. This is actually pretty decent. Okay, cool. So we hope to see you again here tomorrow, 10 a.m. I think Reddy is passing out the flyer now. We have a fully loaded agenda, and we can't wait to share it with you. So do we have any? So how'd you find out about the meeting, sir?
Well, we got a flyer.
We got a flyer? Okay, cool. Want to tell everybody who you are? Give him the microphone.
Virgil Wilson,
Virgil got a deep voice, but it ain't deep enough.
Harvest Community Block Club, 7 Mile Telegraph area.
Yes. Harvest Community Block Club.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a new one there.
Yeah, pretty new.
Harvest Community Block Club. So when do you guys meet?
Thursday,
Third Saturday.
every month.
Okay. So the reason why we're asking is that we like to go to those community meetings and
All right,
kind
we
of.
appreciate that.
Okay, cool.
My wife over there, she's gonna give you all that information.
Okay.
I want them kind of.
Hey, wife, how you doing? Not mad. So before you leave, could you give that meeting information to Danielle in a blue shirt? We want to make sure we can stop by one of your meetings. Yeah, wait till yeah, pause you for 1 second. So we know we can hear you in the room, but we also stream our meetings live on Facebook, so we want to make sure they can hear it at home as well.
Okay, I learned about.
You got to talk in the microphone now.
Is it? Do I need to hit the button here?
Let me see what I can
I can't hear myself.
do. Now you can.
Am I okay now? Yeah, I learned about the meeting through Danielle, and I receive emails about the month. University on Outer Drive.
Oh, you went to a D1 CAN meeting.
Right.
That's one of our initiatives for the
about
office.
3 or 4 weeks ago. I
Yeah,
think
okay.
It was. Yeah.
Okay.
And so I missed the monthly meeting right after that meeting. But this is my first meeting, and I look forward to continue to get involved with the meetings.
Okay.
And help out in any way that I can.
Cool. So we'll see you tomorrow morning, right?
Tomorrow morning, absolutely. Yeah.
All right, everybody. You heard him say it. It's on camera now. You got to be there.
Yeah.
We gonna find
it's
you.
on my calendar.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. So
All right.
I look forward to it. And
Okay.
nice meeting everybody that's here today.
Okay.
And I want to continue to thank Danielle for keeping me aware of what's going on. She's on top of it.
It's so nice, but her name is Daniela. He get to call you out your name, but I can't.
And I got a business card right in front of me.
So sweet. Oh.
Thank you, Mr. Porter. So yes, my name is Daniela, but my family calls me Danielle. I don't always answer to it at work, but I will for Mr. Porter.
Is he your family?
Yes.
You nicer to him than you are to me. Ain't that something? I work with. Are there any other new people here for our meetings? We have some returns. Hey, how you doing? Lady. No, we're going to give the young lady who raised her hand over there with her back to the wall.
Exactly. Yeah, but say hello anyway.
How you raise your hand and then hide?
Hi, everyone.
my first time.
I am Rhonda Cheetah Mitchell, precinct delegate for 278, District 1. How's everybody today? Good. Any day above ground is a good day.
Amen. Amen. All right.
Good morning. My name is Christina Wilson, and my husband already had mentioned that we belong to a newly formed block club, which is Harvest Community Block Club, 7 Mile in Illinois. We have our meetings every third Saturday of the month.
What time?
11 to noon.
11 to noon. Okay.
It's right in one of the rooms in the church.
Okay. 1 hour in and out. I'm not mad at that.
So, so glad to be here and looking forward to all that I'm here as well as you.
And the young lady to your left?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Valeria.
Valeria. Okay. Are you from a community association? This is your first meeting?
This is sort of my first meeting.
Okay. How'd you find out about us?
I was on the internet searching. I work in the area.
Okay.
At one of the agencies, so I came out so that I can find out information for the consumers.
Okay.
And take it back and get them involved in their community.
Okay. Well, we're glad to have you. Thank you so very much for coming. Okay. Cool. Anybody else? Going once, going twice? So hours. The only rule is that there are no rules. We just sort of kind of respect our neighbors, okay? This is your opportunity to meet the individuals who live in the community with you. If you have any questions or concerns, we do our best to kind of point you in the right direction. We will say that we don't have the answers to everything. We can't always fix it, but we will do our best, okay? Anybody? Looking at me like this, hurry up. All right, so for those who've been here before, they know the rules as well. We also go around, we introduce ourselves. We ask, your name, if you're from a community association, what are the boundaries and things of that nature. So we can go ahead and start on this side of the room, because I like to make people who have my job do the same exact stuff I have to do. There you go. Ma'am. Okay, gotcha.
I'm Frances Rowland. I'm a part of Cabra Community Association on Hubbard Center. Sterling is our president. And I'm also the acting president of the Coral Street Block Club. And we'll start in June having our meeting again on the third Saturday.
Two
at
groups. We
3
got to add you
p.m.
guys to the calendar as well. Okay, cool. Before we go to our next person, by show of hands, who signed in today? Who signed in? So if you're not raising your hand, we're looking at you. We need you to sign in. It's not for anything political. We're not going to send you the campaign material. What this is that we want to make sure when we get resources, we want you to have them as well. So those of you who receive our text messages and emails, we know that they're full of valuable information that you can take home to your neighbors and to use yourself as well, okay? So please sign in. There's a sign-in sheet floating around the room. We will make sure you get it. Please write your real email on there, okay? Okay, we don't want to put 123 at yahoo.com. I've seen that before. So also, if you have a Facebook, who has a Facebook or Instagram, a social media page? Don't act all bashful. I done seen some of y'all on there before. That's because if we take pictures of you, we want to make sure you get them as well. A lot of you guys look really nice and on camera. We want to make sure you get those pictures and use as your profile page and your backgrounds and things of that nature. So please write your real information down there. And if not, I'm going to check and I'm going to call you, okay? Okay. Mama Flowers?
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. My name is Annette Flowers, and I'm with the Fenmore Summit Block Club. That's on Fenmore between Florence and Puritan.
Thank you.
Paulette Watson, I'm with the O'Hare Park Association. That covers Southfield to Evergreen, 3, 7, and 8 Mile.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Bronwyn. I'm an intern at GRDC, Grandma Rosedale Development Corp.
So you're still in school?
Yes.
Where do you go?
I go to U of M Ann Arbor.
Okay, and what are you majoring in?
I'm an environmental science major.
Okay, and what are you doing with the GRDC? This is an interview, by the way. We're judging you. Go ahead.
Everything.
I do everything. Okay, well, congratulations and welcome. We know this lady to your left.
Kitty Yarbrough with Grandmont Rosedale Development Corporation, the community engagement manager there. Our boundaries, as you know, are School Path to McNichols and Southfield Freeway to Evergreen.
Thank you.
Okay, my name is Patricia Farmer, Harvest neighborhood. Our boundaries are 7 Mile, 8 Mile, Grand River, Telegraph.
Cool. 2 new groups today. I'm happy with that. Please make sure you give us your information on your meeting schedules and telephone numbers. Did they get, okay, thank you. She's like, I already did it. Here, high five. Good job.
Consulting company, and I'm just looking to create projects to help the inner city communities.
Okay, thank you. Glad to see you again.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Kay Davis, and I don't belong to any particular organization, but I love attending the events to find out what's happening in my neighborhood.
Well, you're part of our family, so say I'm District 1 then.
Okay, I'm District 1.
What area do you live in? Okay.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Tracy Martin. I am with the newly resurrected Eliza Howe Community. And I was an officer there. I'm also an attorney, and I'm a justice advocate with Prison Fellowship and Sunbury. I always learn such great information, and it's a wonderful opportunity to network with new people.
Okay. So when does the new group actually meet, date and times?
Well, right now it's kind of free form. We meet on Tuesdays.
Okay.
And if anyone wants to contact me to participate in our meetings, I'd be, ready, willing, and available to give them my contact. Council is bounded by Schoolcraft, where the 96 Trenches, and Lanthier and Linden. There's the Brightmoor Greenway that runs through there, and those are our boundaries.
Thank you so
Sure
very
thing.
much.
Lenore, Winston, and North Point.
Okay.
East side
East side.
of North Point, not the west side.
Gotcha. So you've already spoken with Pastor to the people. Oh, okay.
My name is Chris Shaw. I don't belong to any particular organization, but I live in the neighborhood. Been here almost my whole life.
Could you hold the microphone up a bit, please?
I've been here my whole life. I live in Edinburgh, right off 6 Mile and Ida Drive, and I'm also a realtor.
Okay. Welcome. Hey. Now you know you gotta do better than that. We can't hear
Good
you.
afternoon.
Louder!
Okay. Good morning.
Good morning! Much better. Give us your best Councilman Tate impression.
My name is Barbara Poindexter, and I'm with the St. Mary's SK Block Club, and that's St. Mary's and School Friends.
Okay, thank you.
My name is Gwendolyn Weathersby, Florida Community Block Club Association E. We're between 6 Mile and Vern.
Again, my name is Rhonda Cheetah Mitchell, Precinct Delegate for Precinct 278, District 1, owner of HRS Home Healthcare Services, board member of Cronk Boxing, and Block Club president of South Street.
Amen. You sure we can't get you to say hello?
Yes. I'm actually an intruder. My car is being serviced across the street. I needed a place to settle, so I'm here. I'm very glad to be here.
I heard y'all had free coffee, so I'm going ahead and I'm going to say hello. Thank you so much for
And also,
joining.
I live on the old West Highway Trail. We do have a community council also.
What's the name of it?
I belong to St. Stephen AME Church.
Okay.
Historical St. Stephen AME Church.
Yes, ma'am.
And we have community meetings there every fourth Wednesday at 5 o'clock.
Okay.
And
Okay.
so,
We're glad to have you, neighbor. Thank you for joining us today. Let me get this side of the room over here as well. Over there, yeah. Making their triumphant return. Hello.
Hi, I'm Dan Yerman. I live at Salem and Santa Maria. I don't belong to any club. That's my work.
Oh, man. I'm learning the older you get, you just say, here, wife. You just hear that. Happy wife, happy life. She's the boss. Taking notes, fellas. Go ahead.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Mary Yearman, and my husband, I live at Salem.
Yes, ma'am.
Between Grand River and 6 Mile.
Yes, ma'am. So glad to have you back. We missed you. Okay, cool. Well, give yourselves a round of applause for those lovely introductions. I'm sure you guys can sit here and listen to me talk all day. She said no. Welcome to my world, people who shut me. Microphone. No, they can take pictures and Rach can take the whatever. We should switch one day. Just say hi to everybody.
hi, everybody.
You see how? Okay, well, cool. Well, I'm sure you guys would love to sit and listen to me talk all day, but I want to go ahead and bring up our host, our very own Detroit City Councilman James Tate. Give Councilman a round of applause, please.
Thank you, Aaron Hall. Y'all get up for Aaron Hall, please. Aaron Hall. Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you all for being here. It is Friday. We made it to the end of the week. For those of us who know tomorrow is just another day, we have a meeting on Saturday as well. So, District 1 monthly meeting. And as a matter of fact, for those of you who are here today, you won't have to travel far for tomorrow's meeting because it's going to be right back here, only next time in the Artist Village in the back. Now, how many of you have been in the Artist Village in the back there? All right, so it's a real cool space. For those of you who have not gone back there, take some time. The door's open. I'm sure they'll be okay with it. Take some time to go take a look at it. There's also an area where the roof is no longer there. It's like a courtyard. It is phenomenal. There's a lot of graffiti art, and it has been refreshed over the years. So there's some murals that were there before, and there are new murals there now. So it's right here in the community. So the reason why we're having the meeting over here is because we try to, again, make sure that we have every community, every neighborhood in District 1 realize that whatever happens in any district. For instance, we have, as you know, Grand River Streetscape. How many of you are familiar with the Grand River Streetscape project that's happening? Oh, we have a number of people who are not familiar. So, briefly, from Grand River, Southfield, all the way to Berg Road is going to be completely redeveloped. So that's a state road, Grand River is. So they're going to come in and they're putting in $8 million in the project. The city of Detroit is putting $1 million in. In addition to the street itself, Grand River, we're also, the city of Detroit and the water department, doing reinstallation and improvement of the water system as well. So the piping, the lines, all of that stuff will be dug up, we're talking about having rest areas in the middle of the street. Because, you know, going across Grand River, there's a lot of folks who just decide not to even try to cross Grand River because it's just too dangerous. There's also going to be an additional, two additional right up there. I can't remember what the other one is. Anybody else remember what the other light's going to be? I think it's still in that same found on the city's website. Daniela, you know we're going to come to you if you can find the area. I think just look up Grand River Streetscape, City of Detroit, and Google that and it may pop up. We want to make sure you have the information. The city had its final meeting regarding what everything was going to look like on May 1st. So we've had a number of meetings, well over 20 meetings in the neighborhood. For those of you who are not aware, that's why we want to make sure that we have your information, your emails, because that's the kind of stuff we make sure we get to you. And we are not, as the city or the state, this is different than any other project that we worked on before with the state. We're taking in the wants and desires of the people who live in the community to determine what the streets off to the races. So between, it's going to be a 2-year project. So from south phase, that's going to be this year, starting next month. Yeah, that's how soon it is. Next. That's going to be next year, spring and summer. So then you have McNichols to Berg Road. That's going to be summer, fall of next year. Now here's the other twist. Remember I told you about those 3 phases, right? So they're going to do the construction in 3 phases as well. They can't do the whole street, right? You can't do the whole north and south, the whole thing. So what they're going to do is first, the first phase of the first phase, they're going to do the north side of the street first. Then they're going to travel to the south side of the street. Then they're going to do the middle, the center area. So just so you give you an idea, all of that information and stuff that we want to make sure our community knows about. Again, it's affected, this area is affected by that construction. So that's one thing. So then we also have an individual, big investor in the city. They have decided to purchase a number of properties in this area. The parking lot next to Sweet Potato Sensations. Also anybody see the building on Grand River where you have the mural of the sunflower being watered? That building as well, in addition to that building right next to us, which was called formerly the Obama building, because you have the mural of President Obama and First Lady dancing there. Well, they're doing, if you see this, the mural's not there anymore because they're redeveloping the building. And there's going to be some the new use of that building is going to be very interesting. We're going to have the individuals, the developers at the meeting there tomorrow as well. And so this is not going to be something uncommon happening in the city of Detroit, where you have major developers coming in a neighborhood, identifying things that they want to bring here. The question is it something that we want in our neighborhood? a lot, and people, when I first bring it up, it's kind of funny, but when you think about it, it's not here. Do we have a grooming anywhere we can groom our pets? How many of your pet owners? All right, I have a pet. I've had pets pretty much my entire life. Where do we groom our pets in our area over here in District 1? Where do we go? Livonia. Where else? Midtown, okay. Where else?
West Bloomfield.
West Bloomfield. You see where I'm going with this? It's an untapped market right here. So I know we want restaurants. That's on our list. I know we want a number of other amenities. We've heard about brew pubs and a number of different things. But that's one that I think I'm going to try to sneak in there. So, you know, but there's some other things that you all want to see that we have not identified, and you don't have it here now. Let us know, please. Aaron, you have a mic?
Did you want the address?
For the website?
Yeah.
Yep, before we go, Tracy, if we can give the website, Danielle?
So it is DetroitMI.gov, which is the city's website, /Northwest. And they have all the information about the Grand River Streetscape. So it's DetroitMI.gov /Northwest. Thank you.
And so we didn't even talk about the redevelopment that's happening at the old Rogale Golf Course, which again is hop, skip, and a jump right down the street at Bird Road. Lots of business corridor that we have in the district. So we have to do whatever we can to make sure that we keep it strong and strengthen it even more so. Lots of changes is going to occur, and with the construction, again, remember we talked about 2 years. It may be very challenging. We got some things that we're going to try to do to help the business, but we need your support because they're in our neighborhood. Ms. Mark?
Thank you, Councilman Tate, and I want to say again, I really appreciate you holding these District Detroit 1 meetings because they're so informative. I benefit so much, and I share every kernel of information that I receive from these meetings. Now, you had mentioned about the lack of pet groomers in the area, and I noticed that there's an emphasis on the bringing in of the so-called green spaces and blue spaces. And so I'm wondering if dog parks would be something that's on the table as well.
So it's funny you say that. Someone else raised the issue of the dog park, and that's something that has been looked at. It's going to be part of the plan. More than likely, it will be something that's considered for the Rogale portion of this huge redevelopment in our area. That's something that we're bringing to the table as well. We're not finalized. That plan has not been finalized yet for the Rogale Golf Course. We're talking over there mixed use, so some residential, some potential commercial stuff, but mainly using the parkland, allowing that parkland to be natural, and folks to have an opportunity to enjoy it. So it's not just flat green space, but you know, we have trees and pathways and things of that nature.
Thank you. I have a two-part question now that you mentioned that. The incoming of these blue spaces, and so I'm concerned about the area that is on the east side of Outer Drive where there's been a lot of demolition of homes.
Outer Drive where?
That's understand that you know, every time it rains we have all these issues with flooding, and our infrastructure can no longer adequately handle the rain, quite frankly. And so I understand that there's been this long-term plan to make use of that area over there, Linden, Bandler, Outer Drive, and if you could shed any light on what is going on over there, what the timeline is, and what's happening exactly.
To be completely honest and frank with you, there's no major plans right now for that area. The city, and this is always the hard conversation to have with folks, because we can't do the whole city at the same time, and I know that there have been major plans in the past, and they're sputtered. So you remember at one point in time you had a lot of the scattered homes being built over in the area?
Yes.
Well, right now we're having a situation where many of those, well, let me back up. The scattered homes, when they were built, in the Brighton area. You had a developer who came in and just built homes. A lot of them had issues, but they built the homes so quick and fast. And they also told the folks that if you purchase this home, or if you rent this out of this home, it's rent to own. KMG, 15 years. Are you one of the residents?
I'm actually in the Eliza Howe area, which is within Brightmoor. That's a whole nother issue.
Yeah.
I'm very familiar with the situation.
So that's one of those plans that we had working with the private sector, the city of Detroit. My job here at the time, so blame me. But we're now, they unscrupulously lied to the folks and said it was rent to own. So if you rent 15 years at this location, you will put every month the dollars go towards you owning the home. And then 15 years it'll be yours. Well, guess what? Folks are here in year 19, still don't own the home, and they can't find any of the paperwork that says any of that information that they said from their mouths, but was not in any written documentation. And so that's what happened over there. We are now with the city of Detroit working, my office along with HRD, Housing and Revitalization Department, working with them to help put some money from the city side, purchase those homes from that developer, and put them in the hands of the people who actually been living there within those homes. It's a very intricate deal, so when we start talking about what are we doing for the people in the neighborhoods, that's one of those things that we're doing for the people in the neighborhoods. There's not a lot of publicity around it. We've so far, out of the 200 plus homes, have been able to get 8 into their homes and on. So it may not seem like a big deal, but think about it. You have been told that you are going to be owning your home. You've now, after 15 years, you've been there 19 years, and you still don't own it, have no pathway to ownership. And some folks haven't been saving up, haven't been doing any of this stuff because they thought that this was already going to be taken care of. So the city has to figure out how do we get the dollars, because this is a private issue at this point, right? So we can huff and puff all day long, but if the paperwork doesn't reflect it, that's what they're going to have to go to court. So we're trying to avert all of that and work it out for the residents who are not prepared to have this long, lengthy court battle. Because of our engagement into this issue, the property managers have been removed and reassigned elsewhere. They were so disrespectful. You had a number of the properties that had mold, black mold. We had community meetings, and it was heartbreaking. I remember this woman, and this was one of the worst, but they were really bad stories. This one woman, she had been diagnosed with cancer and was in recovery, and discovered that there was black mold all throughout her home. She called and they told her just put bleach on the black mold, and that should take care of it. That's not even her responsibility. But she ended up having to have amputation, and they still did not take care of their client, so to speak. So those are those kind of situations. When we talk about what plans are happening in the area, as of right now, we're really trying to figure out strategically how to get the most quote-unquote bang for the buck. That doesn't mean we're leaving folks out in a lurch, but you can't just hit everywhere and think that you're going to get any impact, because that's what we were doing in the past with the home demolition, and you couldn't even tell any houses were being demolished. And now you're at least, even with all the controversy, you're at least able to see that there is a difference, even in that area, with the homes being demolished. No real solid, being honest with you, plans for the neighborhood. We've got to come together with the community first before we as a city start talking about so-called plans.
Oh, I am so happy to hear that your office and the city of Detroit is planning on community engagement, because I do believe that the residents should have some say. And so if a homeowner, well, they're not homeowners, but if a resident finds themselves in that situation, is there some sort of ad hoc committee? Should they contact your office? Should they contact the city of Detroit? Because I met a couple of young ladies, Summer Crawford and Dawn Wilson Clark, who actually were successful in gaining a deed for their homes. They found themselves in that same situation with KMG.
So Summer and Dawn are the reasons why we are right now, the reason why we are where we are today. And I would say specifically Dawn, and many of you have seen Dawn. She's come here, she's Cuddles the Clown. She's dogged when it comes to any potential slight against people. And she just so happened to be one of those people that was slighted, and she refused to give up. And and this is what I tell folks all the time, just because you don't think it's our job, that doesn't mean you don't call us. And just because we can't get the results you want immediately doesn't mean you don't stay on us. Doesn't mean that you just let it go. You just deal with it. She stayed on us for, and you know, when you're in that situation, you don't necessarily, you're not the most articulate when it comes to being warm and compassionate and communicating information. Even though I had nothing to do with it, but coming at you, and you kind of, it's hard to weave in between all that stuff and get to the issue. That's the other thing. Be patient. 2 years after that first meeting that we had with her, we now are starting to see some of these homes being placed into the hands of the folks who rightfully should have it. But it was because they refused to give up. In summer, same way, we sat down, had multiple meetings behind closed doors, and then we had them publicly with the community, brought them together, had the management company, you name it, we were putting it together. And with the state of Michigan, again, real quiet things that are happening. It may not seem like it's a big deal, but for those folks who live over there, that's huge. That's about 200 properties that at some point, once they transition and everybody, if they want them, because you may not want your home, you may not want to live over there forever, you may want to move somewhere else. But if you want it and you're prepared, we want to provide you a pathway for home ownership.
Thank you, Councilman. And just one final thought, and I'll pass the mic. I don't want to hog the mic, but it just seems to me that as an attorney, if some of these residents have been in the homes for 15 years, that they might be able to take deeds under the principle of adverse possession. Because in a sense, it was an adverse possession situation. So just some food for thought.
Well, that might be the case if there was any paperwork that showed that there was a 15-year rent to home, and there's nothing that says that.
There's no paperwork at all.
None with the city.
Wow.
None with the folks who are renting either. And this is another.
That's appalling.
You got to read your information. Don't go with what these folks say. But we're working it out. Saying all of that to say, there's a lot of stuff happening over here, and that's why we're having the meeting over here tomorrow. We're also going to have the Old Redford Business Association. They're not just during that time, but period. Maybe there is some community involvement that you all are seeking from the businesses over in this area, not just asking for donations, but just involvement, just being there and being a part of it. They're going to be here as well. And how many of you ever heard of community? A lot of vacant land in the city of Detroit. Of course, commercial vacant land, but we absolutely have a lot of residential vacant property in the city of Detroit. All those properties are not right next to each other. And that becomes one of the biggest challenges for us with the city of Detroit. Space. They don't want a little space here, then okay, I can't do anything there, and then another little space, and then I can't do anything there. They want all of that to work with. And so many times you have developers come in and they do exactly what I just said, come in and develop that whole thing. And it changes in some situations the make know who you are. Community land trust is another tool that can be used to address the issue of vacant properties, abandoned properties, not necessarily blighted, but vacant properties in the city of Detroit. They'll never, right, see, that's the first thing I said, what? Never appreciate the value, but it will forever stay in the hands of the community, which means that you're talking about affordable housing in your neighborhood. And the beautiful thing about the community land trust is, remember we talked about a lot of developments, they want that contiguous land, all of that stuff together. Community land trust, you can do the whole hopscotch, skipping of homes and properties, because the community themselves are the ones who own them. You're not trying to have this huge development. So we're going to have some folks from the Detroit Justice League Center. I know Detroit Justice League like superheroes. I gotta make sure I don't say that tomorrow. And coming up, Superman. So we're gonna have them tomorrow, giving the president pilot here in District 1. with one of our neighborhoods in District 1. So that's going to be very, very interesting as well. Before I go to you, ma'am, I'm going to go to this gentleman there, Josh.
Hey, how's it going? In this area.
In terms of the budget?
Correct, on the new budget.
You know, so part of what improves the budget is some of those things that will improve the neighborhood. I think that's what in terms of safety. There's nothing in particular I can say, and I'll be completely honest, that directly impacts safety. No one thing in the budget. But all the things together, they work collectively, and there's still no guarantee that crime will go down. I think one of the misnomers is that government is the one that reduces crime. We all work together to reduce crime. So part of that is we can have 1,500 more police officers on the street. That doesn't necessarily reduce crime. That is, for some people, a light at the end of the tunnel. Chief Craig also has indicated, along with the mayor, that they were looking at the expansion of the green light program. We talked about that 2 weeks ago when we were here, to place the green lights at certain intersections within the city of Detroit. The state law prohibits the city of Detroit or any city from using any cameras at intersections for traffic violations. So that's off the table. So now the cameras, you can basically track the cars as they go about the city of Detroit. That's the theory. The challenge that some of us have had, me included, is that there was no policy built around it. They just wanted us to approve the budget to allow for it to take place. We can have the conversation about is it the right thing that we should do or not, but to just put about $10 million into this initiative without having any policy built around it at all, to me was not responsible. So we have sequestered the dollars and are now awaiting for more engagement from the Board of Police. A big, hairy, audacious public safety budgetary item that was pushed for this year. And so we are now going through it, identifying if this is, again, something that the community wants, but that is something that's being led by the Board of Police Commissioners, whose job that is.
Got it. One more quick question. The FCA and all the dealings that we have with that, do you think that the city of Detroit should have the same employment practices as you're trying to impose on the FCA?
In terms of?
Detroit hiring.
Which is?
Well, we don't have Detroit hiring on all the entities of the city employees.
So just that alone, I just want to make sure, because there's a lot of stuff that's been thrown out. So
right, yeah. Well, they're trying to make sure that most people are from the city of Detroit.
51%. So correct. The answer is yes. I would love if we could do that.
Okay.
Yep. Got to hire folks. Got to make sure folks are, because what that does is it encourages the city to try to figure out how to address the issues where it seems like we can't address them. People issues. How do you get folks working? So now we're working through a plan. You can't just say folks are just lazy, don't want to go work. That's the case in some situations. But that's not always the case. Maybe there's childcare issues that we as a city have to figure out. If we deal with childcare issues and it ends up providing an opportunity, we have to invest, let's say $250,000 in some capacity doing some project, but it results in 200 more people being allowed to work as a result of us removing that barrier. That's an investment that we have to do. So we are working with Detroit Workforce Solutions, Detroit Employment Solutions, excuse me, on training individuals and opening up. There's going to be 8 training centers around the city of Detroit. This is just with the FCA deal, and that's going to be coming as well. I am the chair of Planning and Economic Development Standing Committee, and all of the FCA deals, this is the Fiat Chrysler deal, all of those elements have to come through the committee that I chair. We did push out the great majority of the items yesterday to the full committee for review. One of the issues that I have with the deal is the proposed sale of the Millennium Garage. So this is a garage structure, a parking structure in downtown that's appraised for $13 million, but a company will provide us $18 million for the parking structure. And this would be part of the deal. Part of those $18 million will be utilized for the Fiat Chrysler deal. I personally, I mean, when you just look at the numbers alone, it sounds good, right? 13 million, close to 18 million. But my challenge is, this is downtown, and it just doesn't make sense for the city of Detroit to give away or sell, even at a higher rate, a parking structure that we will never get back again. We can do the same thing this entity is looking to do, but we're just choosing not to. There's $2 million deferred maintenance. So that means that there's about $2 million worth of work that needs to be done on that particular facility to really get it churning again the way that we wanted to do. Well, what do you think the new property owner is going to do? Put the money into it and get it humming. So I have an aversion to just selling stuff just because it works for something that a deal that works right now, and basically it goes away forever, and we're not building any new parking structures from the city of Detroit standpoint. And here's the other thing. How many of you ever tried to go downtown to any of the major events down there when it's happening? And we're not talking about 10 years ago, we're talking about now. How's parking? Well, it's hard to find in some situations, but the cost as well. And so we have an opportunity to control the cost on that parking structure. We will sacrifice some dollars, right? We can always charge $40 a head. We should be trying to make things a bit more convenient, and we don't want to break our budget either, but we want to make it more convenient for you. So, and long term. So that's a bone of contention right now. We'll see where that goes, and if we do not approve that, that could be part of the reason why the deal blows up. Just letting you know this right now. But I'm your councilman. I'm communicating this to you. Does anybody have any counter that I need to take back and think about? Because I'm just letting you know where my mindset is. And again, Councilman Tate and council kills the deal because of parking structure. How would you feel about that? Welcome to my world.
Where is that exactly? Where is that parking structure?
It is over by, she's asked, where's the parking structure? Parking structure is over by Cobo Hall. Yeah, over by Cobo Hall. And that is prime real estate, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've had it. And I park here when I can. If I find anywhere else, I'll park there knowing my vehicle is safe.
Right.
And I don't want to.
Yeah. So here's the counter that comes from the administration. So the folks who are going to purchase the parking structure from us is looking to bring 500 jobs into the building right next to it, which means that we would get income tax from 500 people. That's another boost, more money going to the city's budget. Here's the other thing. The company has already purchased the building. So, right, see, all the faces look just like mine when I found. So you buy the building hoping that the city's going to, or you bought the building because the city promised you, folks promised you that you were going to get the parking structure. And now, what's the way to make sure that it goes through? Because no council member, I don't think, is going to just outright sell a parking structure. How do you do it? You put it in this deal, and now you have the ability to kill the deal if it doesn't work. So that's how this stuff works. Again, I'm not saying anybody's good or anybody's bad. That's just how it works. And we've got to figure it out. But I'm presenting it to my constituents. Does anyone have any counter to what I just proposed to you? Because I'm telling you where at right now where my head is. Going once? Going twice? All right, we got one over here. Right, we'll go over there first and we get your choice.
Yes, I know you said they're not trying to make a profit off of it, but yet still you're going to have, I know you're going to have.
No, they are trying to make a profit. We should not be trying to make a profit.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
If you all get it, you're not trying to make a profit, but yet still you're going to have bills and things. So what I would like to know, when you say you're not going to make a profit, so what would the cost be for parking?
Wherever it is right now, maybe a few dollars more, because we do have to raise our parking is extremely low at our parking structures. If you can go to some of the parking structures and it's $10. Now I know that may seem like a lot, but if you go to a major city, you won't find parking for $10. That's our city lots. That's our city lots.
The parking there now is how much?
It's a city lot. Yep. So it's 10. It's what I'm along the lines I'm telling you, $10 if it's on like a major day. That's when we have the escalated rates. But on a regular basis, it's definitely lower than the private lots.
Right. Well, that's good because they won't attach too much more to it. You're saying.
No matter. That's the goal, to keep the prices affordable.
That's what I wanted to know.
Yeah.
Right.
We got one there. Here.
I just want to bring up, I'm involved right now with a program the city is rolling out, started about a year ago. It's a program for rental property.
Is it about what we were just talking about just now? Because we'll come to you, I promise you. But I want to make sure that we kind of flush this out, because this is my time to engage about a major issue that's happening right now before. So I want to get input.
I don't know the name of the program, but I'll let you finish, and then if it's not it.
No, we'll come back around.
I'll talk about it. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, what I was saying is it dealing with the Fiat Chrysler deal?
No. It's
okay.
a totally different program.
So we're going to come to you. I just want to make sure that we kind of we deal with that in the room, and then we'll make sure we come to you.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman, I would like to say I am tired of the city, but this is just my perspective.
Yes, ma'am.
The city giving away property, giving away incentives that do not benefit the citizens as a whole. And when you're talking about parking, I know that when we go to the Tiger game, we pay like in that parking structure where you can just walk right across the street, like Parkwood's, we pay like $35, $45. It's expensive.
Yeah.
And then if you go underneath, if you have a ticket that does that, but most people can't afford that. And so my point regarding what you're saying is, let's stop giving away things for what looks like something that is really
immediate gratification.
Yeah.
So now here's why I have to ask, because I hear that a lot. And again, remember I told you, I am the chair of Planning and Economic Development. So those incentives have to come through me first. And in many situations, I'm going to be honest with you, your councilman has approved them. But the reason why I do it is not because I just wanted to provide incentives. And again, we can talk about it point counterpoint. But the reality is, while we're providing incentives, so are other cities. So it's not just the city of Detroit just saying, here, come to us. It's everybody doing it. You heard about Amazon, right? Amazon went to New York City. New York City provided that's what we have to compete with. So I know the feeling in the gut, and I feel it as well. I'm sitting here like, man, why does this multi-billion-dollar company need incentives? They don't. But the question is, if we don't provide them, how in the world are we able to attract? Because right now, the reason why you hear a lot of the pushback from us, or from the city standpoint, we really want to figure this out. We're in competition with another city, Belvedere, Illinois. How many of you ever been there before? Heard of it? I've never been there before you. But from my understanding and the photos that I have seen, the location that they're looking at is a green space that has never been developed on. So they don't have to worry about community agreements with all y'all. Because we want to make sure, what are you going to do for our community? So you want community benefits agreement. They don't have to worry about remediating the land, so they don't have to go in and take out the bad stuff and cover it up. Even though it's going to be a plant, you still have to make sure the folks who are there are safe from the stuff that was there before. They don't have to worry about that. They don't have to do demolition of a building. Now, granted, where they are right now, in the two locations, it's a ready-made structure, but they don't have to build on it, but still have to go in and secure the beams and all that good stuff. It's always cheaper to start brand new. Well, I'm not going to say always, but in many situations, especially something of that nature. But they're also being provided incentives from Belvedere, Illinois. In addition to all that stuff I told you that we already have to compete with from the structural physical stuff standpoint, they're still providing incentives. That's what we deal with. So I hear you, I hate it, and we do our best to make sure that we bring them down. So we're working with the Detroit Economic Growth Corporation. We're working with the Brownsfield. Well, with the Brownsfield folks, but we're also working with the Legislative Policy Division, our folks who go through all the numbers, and we're doing everything we can. But again, it is unfortunately it's the nature of the game. And what we have to do is make sure that any incentive that we do provide, that whatever was agreed upon is followed through with.
So my question is, if the city does keep its parking lot, during events, you notice every time there's an event, it goes up $15, $20. Is that going to happen?
Probably, because we still, I mean, again, it's still cheaper than the other places. We're going to charge more than we do on a regular basis, and because we do that now. So there's special event pricing. It is still nowhere close to the $45, $50 that you would pay at a private lot.
It's kind of discouraging. I bought my first season tickets to the Pistons, when they opened the LCA last year, and it was just, I parked in the casino and walked, because after about 4 or 5 games, I didn't know my season tickets would be like a job.
Yeah.
But, it's still
it's an investment.
Yeah, it is. And it just kind of said, man, and it's discouraging. And I know a lot of people say that, why the seats so empty? Well, that's a big factor in that.
Well, here's the other piece now. When you went out to Ann Arbor, what was that parking lot? Come on, let's tell the truth.
Yeah, you talking about Arbor Hill? Yeah, but I mean, yeah.
And I mean, that is true. The parking was expensive. It wasn't. I remember $20. I mean, I'm not saying it's cheap. No, don't get me wrong, but that's approximately what ours is going to be. That's our
that's within reason. Yeah, especially spending $40 or $50. And I can remember a time going downtown last summer, and there was a bunch of events, and I was going to a comedy show at the Fox, and I drove around for an hour and 20 minutes trying to find a place to park.
Yeah. This is progress. This is progress. Remember when you could just go downtown anytime, just park wherever you want? And remember there was a time when you could risk getting a parking ticket because you could just go down and just pay half, and it's cheaper than the ticket. So the ticket was $20, and you pay within, I think it was 10 days, and it's $10. But that's gone. Those days are over with, $45. And some people say, that's too much. Go to any major city again and find out how much the tickets are. We have got lulled into this sense of, we can't do any more because, and there are some challenges, but we've got to realize this is a major city. We have to act like it. And just because there are some who cannot, we have to realize who's actually receiving the tickets, and that's what we did. We did a survey and looked at the folks who actually received the parking violations, and I think it was 70% within the downtown area, 70%. Don't put me on that. It was 63% were suburbanites. So there's this push from and mind you, that happened as a result of the bankruptcy agreement, the $45 increase. But some folks want to go back. And in my heart, again, I feel it. But also we have to look at the fact that we have to ensure that we fund municipal parking and provide the ability for the department to do what's necessary, and it is a revenue generating department. And we have to understand that this is general fund, and if we don't meet our if we were to revert back, who actually gets the benefit from what I just explained to you? The majority is not us. So Aaron, who had? I we had some other folks in the queue. I want to make sure they're moving. We're not going anywhere. We'll be here. This is pretty good topic.
Is this the same FCA deal that involves Jefferson?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Now, what does that have to do with the parking lot all the way downtown?
So that's the thing about these deals. They've got to pull the money from wherever they can. So you have general fund dollars. So the city is working with some money from here and money from there. Now, mind you, the state's putting way more than the city of Detroit is in terms of incentives, way more. But when we look at where you get those dollars from, the folks who helped orchestrate the deal from the city side looked at this deal that they already had arranged with this company to sell this parking structure way over here. They didn't have anything to do with each other at that time, but simply because there's some additional dollars. Remember I told you, appraised for 13, purchased for 18, you put that 5 to here, and this would be part of the project. That's how it got connected.
Now, if they tear down Joe Louis Arena, that's also parking. What happens with that?
We don't own that. We own it by name only right now. That was part of the bankruptcy deal. That was part of the bankruptcy deal. So there's a private entity that now owns Joe Louis. We have, they have a certain period of time to tear it down.
So they can tear it down, build a parking lot.
No, we have to tear it down. I'm sorry. We have to tear it down as a result of the agreement, but they have already missed the deadline 2 times and asked for extensions. They're on their final extension. If they do not submit the plan for development and begin putting shovels in the ground, they either have to pay the city or there's some kind of, it doesn't revert back to the city, the property. There's a lot of stuff that has to happen before that happens. But
somebody could tear it down, build a parking lot, and then charge whatever they want.
Yeah, in theory, but I guarantee you it's going to be a little bit more extravagant than a parking lot at that location. Okay. Well, it's whatever it is, it's going to be by the riverfront. Right. And so you want to take advantage of that space. We were looking at that as, I'm on the Detroit Zoological Board, and we were looking at that location as a potential aquarium for the city. And how many of you been to the Shed Aquarium in Chicago? Phenomenal. There's another aquarium in Denver as well. There's a number of them around the country, but all are not created equally. I mean, when we talk about aquariums, a lot of us think about, Belle Isle Aquarium. And it was cool when I was a kid, but they don't do that anymore. This is a whole other level now.
If you had an aquarium, where would you park?
Oh, I mean, you could certainly put something on that structure, but the way they do these aquariums now, they're going to use a lot of that space. Huge, and that's a huge attraction. And for me, it makes sense to put the aquarium near the body of water. But we're still working all that out, and we've got to get the funding for it. So it's in the works. Oh, you got the money? No. Oh, okay. I thought I'd give you a thumbs up. I'm like, that's my guy. All right. Who do we have? Still on this topic?
Oh, we're still on the topic?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I was gonna. Can I just say this?
We're not going anywhere. I promise. Is it on this topic?
No.
Yes, ma'am. All right.
My question is, I know that our city is coming back. We all want our city to be vibrant, vital, and functional. But it just seems like it's us taxpayers that's paying more and more out of our pockets. And people need to make a living wage to be able to maintain their homes, their properties, provide for their families.
Yeah.
Things are just getting higher, but the income for the individuals are not increasing. So where do we give? Where do we give? We have to have a true balance. I agree with all that you're saying in the new ways of thinking, because we have to change our mindsets, think differently, speak differently, walk differently. However, we also have to make a way for the people who are paying their taxes.
Right.
As the taxes go up, prices increase for parking, prices increase for groceries. We're left with nothing. And look at the price of automobile insurance. I'm paying $500 a month. That's a big chunk.
It's huge.
I won't be able to go downtown and do none of that
fun stuff, yeah.
Unless I get on the bus. Seems like everything in the world is going now for money, money, money. Let me see how much money I can make.
So what I now want to ask you is, as your councilman, Reginald Lee, what, from a city standpoint, would you like to see change that would help get us closer to your vision? Because it's one thing to say it from an umbrella standpoint, just do something, but is there an area where you think we can address that we may be lacking?
I've thought of a number of areas. However, I would like to finish putting that in writing because my plan was to present that to you and to the council board next month so that you can see versus what I'm saying.
Okay. And that's the kind of stuff that I'm looking for. I don't know everything. I show it all the time. Anybody else on this topic? I think Trace, yeah. Oh, before you, we got Josh and we come to you.
I'm sure you got a report, like a future benefit or future profit analysis on all of this stuff. Can you break it down to your understanding of the actual numbers?
But all of what scenario? On all of what stuff?
As far as, it sounds like you've already decided that you don't like this deal. Is that right?
No.
The deal that we're talking about.
No, what I said is I certainly don't like the deal that involves the parking structure. That's one portion of it. There's like 12 different parts to it. That's one part I'm not in support of.
Dissecting that, this part you don't like.
Yeah.
Have you had an analysis of it, and can you share with us your understanding of the math in this scenario?
So in terms of the math, again, it's a lot of the stuff is something that, well, I'll tell you, I don't have it all in front of me right now, and I would have to read, because I told you it's like 12 different pieces, but we're looking at course would have to be first provided to the temp workers. They haven't been able to provide us what that looks like just yet. We've heard numbers as high as 2,500. We've heard numbers far lower than that. But they would be first in mind. What we also have been able to get, and this is something that you have not been able to, and that's at every automotive facility plant in the country, that same temporary worker piece falls in. What's unique about this particular deal is that after you deal with those tier or those protected folks first, or those priority folks first, the next group that are provided the jobs, or at least offered these jobs, and this is from now, or from the time that the deal is approved, or the time that the deal is approved through the life of the facility, the Detroiters in the ring around the facility will be offered the jobs first. So we're looking to get them in the pipeline, those folks first, with the job training. They've also provided some additional dollars to go towards that job training to help increase the numbers of individuals that would be available for employment following the potential standing up of those facilities. This is something that doesn't happen anywhere at all, and it was a hard-fought battle to get it. And this is, again, an opportunity moving forward for the life of the actual facility. So this is changing potentially lifestyles of individuals who live in the area. And as you move outside of the outer ring of the facility, you start going further out, but you stay first in the city of Detroit in terms of hiring.
Sure. Could I ask one? So the math you're unaware of, or you
when you say math, I mean, what math are you looking for?
I'm not looking for.
I can throw numbers at you all day long, but what math are you looking for?
What I'm asking you is there's got to be a benefit or a detriment to the society.
It doesn't always come down to numbers.
Okay, well, I'm asking you what is it that you didn't like about this deal? Besides,
I just told you.
I get it.
That's it. That's the thing I'm telling you.
Okay, so it doesn't come down to numbers. It comes down to losing.
It comes down to the whole deal itself, because it's not just about numbers. It's about the effect on the people, the effect of the project on the people, and the numbers.
Okay.
So all of that has to be involved. One of the issues that some people have is that there are properties that are involved in the land swap. Y'all heard about that at all?
Yeah.
So remember I told you about the contiguous land that developers are looking for. So the city has had to, because if we really want this deal to go down, we have to purchase the property from landowners, give them or sell them properties that we own somewhere else, so that this deal with FCA could actually take place. The challenge for a lot of folks, especially in Southwest Detroit, and keeping it completely real with you, is that a number of the properties, critical properties, are owned by the Maroon Company. The Maroon Company basically held us hostage in terms of cost. And they got, if this goes through, they're getting paid. Big time, big time. We know the issues that many of the folks in the community at large, but certainly in Southwest Detroit, have with the Maroon family and how they've operated. Gone afoul of federal law, city law, not really working with folks in the community, you name it. They said they were turning a new leaf, but the way that they are charging the city for these properties is ridiculous. Now, the one benefit we have is when you look at all the incentives that are being put in place. Square foot per employee, per whatever you can, numbers that we've looked at, it's all less than any other facility that has been created, auto manufacturing facility that's been created in the last, I think the number we have is 20 years. And they have a whole diagram. We can make sure that everyone has whoever wants it. But when we look at the diagram, it shows that we're still less than, in terms of incentives, less than any plant that has been built around this country, not just here in Detroit, in Michigan, but in the country in the past 20 years. So it feels a certain kind of way, but we've got to look at the totality of the project. So it's not always just about the numbers. It's about the effect as well.
Real quick, back to the component of this parking structure and how it's impacting this overall deal. If that portion doesn't go through, what does that do to the remainder of this concept?
Well, if you listen to the folks who are pushing it to us, they say it will kill the deal.
Period. Entirety over a single parking.
Hey, that's what they're saying. Again, I'm telling you, this is what we go through in our office. That's the pressure that's provided. If you don't agree, and I said this was me at the council table yesterday at the committee. It was all of the top of the food chain sitting at the table across from us in the committee. And I asked, so we're talking about the city of Detroit. We have the entire couple million. I mean, that's a lot of money, but for a city of our size and the investments and all, we can't find $1 to do this. And they said, no, we can't do it. It would kill the year. So that's what they're saying. I don't buy it, but I guess we got to stare at each other for a while and figure out what happened. But we have to figure this out by Tuesday. So this is not a yes, ma'am.
Councilman, how much does the Millennium Garage generate in revenue annually?
Yeah, I don't have that figure in front of me. It is underperforming because we haven't been doing what's necessary to get it to up to stuff. There's some parking spaces that are not usable because, remember I told you about that $2 million deferred maintenance.
Okay, so that's the issue with the broken elevators, because that's been a criticism of the Millennium Garage that, people are complaining about broken elevators, and quite frankly, a lot of people don't even know that garage is available for parking. So, if there was better marketing that was has this track record of giving away its gems, selling its properties, and it sounds like a good deal on its face, but it's like you pointed out, it's gone forever. So sad.
So the sentiment is, and again, I know we talked about it, that the city is giving away so many assets. Let's talk about that. What assets have, in your mind or in your experience, has the city given away? And let's actually again talk about these giveaways. So we'll know what has been given away, and what has been taken away, and what has been lost.
We're talking about giving away property. The question I have in my mind, just trying to get aware of what's going on, is not only are they getting it for nothing, but they're getting grants they gave a grant in our neighborhood for $100,000 for one of those pocket parks.
Who is?
It's already done.
No, but you said they.
I don't know who gave the grant, but they got $100,000 for one little.
But you're saying they got. Who are the they that received it?
Harvest Christian
Gotcha.
Church.
Okay.
Harvest, and they have some kind of little program under that.
We're familiar with them.
Under the, yeah. So $100,000. I mean, giving away is one thing, but snatching up the grant money that comes in to improve the neighborhood without getting input from the people in the neighborhood is another whole thing. Because when I had talked to people before I moved into the area, back into the area, when I was here before, and when they closed the open school, we thought they were going to maybe use that for a recreation building, use the big playground or the parking lot for the park, but they gave the grant $100,000 for a little pocket park.
Now, open school's been closed a long time, well before Harvest Christian came around.
I know. That's why I said when it did close, that's what I know it's been a long time.
But they couldn't have done it because they didn't exist
didn't do it.
when they was closed.
No, I was thinking that's where the
They would go.
That's where the park should have been.
Gotcha.
Not tearing one house down and using that little small piece of property, $100,000 they would get given to just put some playground and some picnic chairs. And so the issue of giving away property and plus another issue of getting grants, snatching up the grant money that's supposed to be improving the neighborhood by people that's on top of it, and that money is gone.
So let me ask you, are you saying that, just listen to you, from what you said?
No,
You said
there's
it's
only
small.
one property there.
Okay, so then
but
we.
they got
So you're talking about the grant?
The grant
So-
was directed even, I don't know who.
So that's what I'm saying. Listen, I can't. Like anybody else, if you go out and you write a grant, I'm not gonna be mad at you for getting your grant.
Okay.
I can't be mad at them for getting the grant. That's what I'm trying to understand where you're going. If that's the city who gave it, now we need to look at did we get what we were supposed to get from the community standpoint. So what we can do is find out, because we've been working with Harvest Christian. Reggie, you've been working with them over time, right?
Yes.
So have you heard some other issues regarding Harvest Christian?
No issues, no. Everybody was excited about the park.
Hello? Yeah, everybody was excited about the park that everybody in the area was excited about the Kaboom playground that got built over there. I didn't hear anything negative about the community and the church or any big concerns. So
Here's a question I have. I just came in. I'm looking at it. I'm coming in and looking at it. I go over to the park and look at, and I'm wondering, grants for the neighborhood.
Were you at any of the community meetings that they had leading up to it?
I hadn't moved back yet.
Yeah, I mean.
And it happened before I moved back. And I just was wondering about, how much. And then I hear other people.
Have you talked to them yet?
I brought it up at the meeting.
With Harvest Christian?
Yeah. Well, not Harvest Christian. I brought it at the Block Club meeting.
Let's work to connect you with Harvest Christian, because what you're saying is they've told me, and I'm not sure who got. We want to make sure.
I was at the Block Club meeting.
No, I know, but what I'm saying is I'm trying to make sure that you have a direct connection. So you may have some issues that may not be issues.
I see.
Once you have that conversation with them. And you also, through that conversation, may be able to influence them to do some of the things that you're looking to do in your neighborhood where you live now. So, Reggie, if you can connect her to Harvest Christian,
definitely,
that would be a good start. Harvest Christian is here?
No, that's the Block Club.
I was about to say, I'm like, what? Look at that.
We found 3 new Block Clubs.
Done.
I want to address Belle Isle thing. People say we gave Belle Isle away. We didn't. The city of Detroit did want to take care of it. I go there all the time. I've been going there for years and years. I've been a Detroit resident for over 20 years. And I go downtown all the time, and the state leasing it was the best thing that could have happened. We don't have half the time none of the bathrooms were working. so people doing a bathroom anywhere they could find a tree. There was garbage spread out, busted glass everywhere. Now it's super clean, and we got to keep Grand Prix racing. If you don't like Grand Prix racing, I understand. I'm not the biggest fan of it myself, but this is the best thing that ever happened to the city of Detroit. It's one thing we do not get a black eye for. We are known for Grand Prix racing and what a great place it is all over the world, countries you've never even heard of, and I'm glad the state took it over because it is the jewel of Detroit, and shame on us for letting it get to this point. People came in and stole all the plumbing out of the thing. How the heck does that happen? I mean, that's a big fountain. One guy can go in there and cut that out in 5 minutes. It took some time. And before you drive on the bridge, and every weekend after the weekend, there'd be bulbs broken on the bridge. Every weekend. I count them. See how many there was every Monday. The state did a wonderful job. We're leasing it. We didn't give it to them. We're making money, and they're fixing it up. And that's a myth that they stole it from us because we weren't doing nothing with it. We couldn't afford it. We weren't doing nothing with it. Disagree with me? I used to go there.
Just a little. So I agree with you that there were some challenges, but here's the perception versus reality. So me also being someone who goes, I know I'm out there too. What I'm saying is the perception is that we didn't do anything. If you ever went out there on a Monday morning, I'm sorry.
I go out there on Monday morning.
No, I'm not now. I'm saying before. If you went out there a Monday afternoon, it didn't look like it did over the weekend. So it wasn't just the stuff just trashed it. We cleaned it on Monday. And then the recycle happened again on Friday.
Now
Saturday, Sunday.
Your garbage all over.
Hold on, wait.
There's a state cop to keep
No. I won't let you get away with that one. That was on the front end. And what happened was the took over the island. And that's just my opinion. They had a number of police officers. And the perception is that police are out there. If you go out there now, you say you go out there, you don't see them out there at all.
I haven't been out there this year, but I've been out there every year before this. I used to take my dog there.
Yeah, sassy.
Yeah.
Well, again, it's perception. I've got people in my family, got no issues. No warrants, they are licensed, everything. They said, I'm not going out there because all they do is mess with us. These people in my family. Because the perception is, if you go out there and you do the same stuff that people were doing before, that they are going to get you. And plus, it's not for us anymore. So,
let me address
we've
that.
got to deal with some.
I have never, in all the years I've been going there, been assaulted by the police in any way. And I haven't seen anybody get assaulted. There should have been some on those motorcycles doing 70 miles an hour down the place.
Yeah. Doesn't happen. And it didn't happen. I would say it did. There was a lot of it on the front end. There were people who, you were driving and you were going over 25. It's hard to drive 25. You really gotta practice. You gotta practice. Hey, I didn't fall from heaven, please. So it's practice to drive 25, and we never drove 25 on Belle Isle. When the state came in, they enforced 25. And that's where a lot of folks were getting tickets. But you don't see a lot of police presence out there like you saw when you first were there, but it's the perception. And then when we talk about overnight, Dan, you are absolutely right. When people would come out and steal all the copper fixtures, they would do that overnight. They're not doing it now. Why? Same situation. You don't have police just driving around. It's closed at night. Same thing. Perception. Now, I'm not going to say there is a positive that because police are there and they have resources, that the probability of you being caught is not higher. I'm not going to say that because we really didn't have a lot of police officers on Belle Isle because it's Belle Isle. We've got other places to go. But a lot of it is about the perception. The Strand? How many of you remember the Strand? James hang out on the Strand. Well, we'll talk about that, young man. But when you look at it now, it's totally different. But it's no police out there telling you don't park it. People are just doing it. We've got to change that. DNR's there, but
They got a rest stop.
they do. But when's the last time you saw DNR stop a car?
Last summer when my church had a picture
Oh.
out there, and he walked up to me and we had a great conversation about the fact that if I had or did not have a parking permit on my car and the cars that we had out there, so he explained to me how he was going to come through, if he was going to do any reviews, and he made it real simple. Y'all get loud and crazy, I'm gonna come in here and I'm gonna start looking around. You quiet and amenable like the rest of the community, then I'm just gonna keep going.
We're going to take one more, then I want to make sure that we deal with any of the other issues. Then we'll go on to any of the individual issues that folks have because we want to make sure we have time for that.
To change to comment, I have three issues. And there's some goods and bads when it comes to Belle Isle. But I'm glad that it changed because I was hanging out there on it before. It was a hot mess. We complained that it's gone. It's not gone. We leased it. We're making money. The city needed that money, and it got cleaned up. I can go on there now. Don't have to worry about carrying my friend with me to protect me and my grandchildren because it was a hot mess. We want to complain that the Belle Isle's going, it's not going, we're making money, but then I don't have to worry about going on the island, being in a traffic jam to get around the island because people's over here getting high and drinking and partying and twerking on the trunk and all of this. So I can go out here now and
So you
walk.
have been to the Strand.
Well, you know we was all on there.
Yes,
Don't
ma'am.
tell
Yes,
my
ma'am.
age, but I've done my
Yes,
part.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
But I cleaned up my mess. And then I showed my children, you go out there, you do this, you better clean up your mess. Some weren't cleaning up their mess. So I'm glad of the change. City does not have to come out of their pocket for it to do, but we're making money. I came because I wanted to inquire about not affordable housing, but with these developers coming in, housing for people who are on disability income. Because it's very difficult for them to live a sensible life and be able to provide for themselves with 771. And we have developers coming in, and the rent, such as one up on 7 Mile, is coming in. And when I went and inquired,
7 Mile where?
I have the paperwork. It's a private person on 7 Mile in Trinity.
Okay.
And then when you go further down on 7 Mile in the Greenfield area, these people, on the majority of my consumers only get 771. So if the rent is 700, how can they go anywhere? So we need to look at some ways of breaking down Pacific housing for them to be able to afford those who get that, or
Now the housing,
increasing.
let me just ask, the housing that you're talking about, is it government housing or is it any housing that's been subsidized by government at all?
Some of them are in government housing. I have a particular brother and sister. They are in a house that their mother left to them. She passed. But they haven't had any running water for about 7 years. They can't afford it. So we got a lot of issues here. We have people who have mental disabilities. We have people who have physical disabilities. They are the government is only giving them $771. How are they going to live?
So for the folks who are having some of those issues, we want to get that information from you or work with you to try to address some of them, especially if you got folks that haven't had water for 7 years. Even though they can't afford it, there are programs out there that can assist. You know, the RAP program.
I've sent them there.
Well, I mean, that's what we want to figure out how. I mean, because it's not good enough for them just to say no, and 7 years later they still don't have water. So we got to try to figure it out. At least, and they may have to pay something, but it will more than likely be less than if they truly cannot pay. But we've got to figure out 7 years without water is dangerous.
And then my last one, and I'm going to leave on that note. Who is going to fix this sidewalk that I tripped over 2 weeks ago?
So,
because I almost tripped over it again today, but I made sure I paid attention.
Okay. And yellow? Let's make sure we follow. I know we
sidewalk where?
Right outside. I'll show you.
Approved
But we'll follow up on it.
Approved Detroit?
Yeah, we're going to take it higher than that because this is, we don't want to wait.
Okay. Now, I want some clarity. I want to make sure I'm understanding what's really going on. Okay, now, FCA, they decided they wanted to come in and build the Jefferson plant, correct?
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to, in my mind, you said the land was worth $13 million.
I'm talking about a parking structure. This is
totally different.
Right. So
okay.
What you're talking about.
So I didn't want to confuse it. But what I do want to ask the question of when they want to come in to build the Jefferson plant, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So they said the only way they would secure, right?
Yeah.
So the mayor said we will make sure you have that they're supposed to hire like 3,000 people from the city and all these other incentives. But how do we as the people know that this is actually a plan that is going
to the city council to ensure this is a monthly report that provides us a matrix. Aaron, just give you my. It has a matrix on it that tells us the progress, provides us the progress on all the different areas in which they agreed to. The other piece to it is we have a Human Rights Commission, and we have a new Human Rights Director who follows up on all those agreements, not just the ones with FCA, but because it just happened and we just found out. It's because we have folks who are out there checking. And we have increased, Josh asked earlier about the budgetary effect on some of these things. We did increase the number of numbers and do magic, but we do have folks who are monitoring as a part of this proposed deal. Just talk. Aaron. They can't see over there. You're on the side. Get everybody see you on the side.
I just had a question. I wanted to know how I volunteer at one of these Christian centers, and people come in there, and I want to know how is it that a person can have their water or light bill run up to $4,000, and where could they go to get assistance?
So what happened in the past, the city would basically defer, they would call it old debt. We couldn't collect. So some folks would pay, some wouldn't. And the dollars that wouldn't collect, we would call old debt and find a way to wipe it off the books, even though it didn't get paid. But what would happen was, it would be called old debt, which meant that we wouldn't collect it, but it would transfer to a higher rate for those who did pay. So that's why we're now seeing all this adjustment where we're trying to flatline and really holding folks accountable. Look, if you can't pay, you got to come in and tell us and show us and provide us information that shows that you cannot pay. We've got to figure out how to help you. Maybe we can, maybe we can't. If we can't, shame on us, But we at least have to have that dialogue, that communication. You can't just not pay and say whatever happens, happens.
So they need to come in, because I'm trying to see if I can help them.
Yes, ma'am.
And all I.
Or at least make a phone call.
Right, well, this is the St. Vincent de Paul's and the St. Christine's. And I've been hearing them reject a lot of people because they couldn't help them. So I'm trying to find new avenues to help them so that they're keep their lights on for their. I mean, I understand that they owe the debt, but how to help them to be more responsible and also pay it so that they can keep their lights on or their water on.
So we do have some water assistance programs. We'll put you in touch, Daniela, if you can make sure before she leaves she has some of those avenues. But again, it's not it doesn't solve the issue for everybody, and it doesn't solve it as quickly as they want. Some folks, the debt stays over their head for a while. But if we don't know, if we don't have any communication with them, it just keeps accruing. And it stays their problem as opposed to trying to figure out how to help. So Daniela will provide you with some of that information with DRAP and some of the other water initiatives that we have.
It's my understanding that the equation for our high auto insurance has a lot to do, they consider the amount of traffic coming into the city. And so with all the arenas and casinos and whatnot, we have people coming from the outside that increases the traffic, which I think that they equate that with the possibility of how many accidents may happen because of the increase in traffic. Mm-hmm. Is there any kind of way that those people can be held responsible? Insurance rate.
I wouldn't want to do it that way. I haven't heard that figure yet, that they've used the number of cars that come in. I don't deny it, but one of the issues that they use that is ridiculous is high school attainment or educational attainment. So essentially, did you graduate high school or not? If you didn't graduate, you get a higher rate. I mean, there's that kind of stuff. Your credit score has nothing to do with any of this. So those are the things that are definitely being addressed in legislation that's being moved, as well as folks who are threatening to put this on the ballot. Now, some of the folks who are threatening to put it on the ballot are people who you may have a feeling about, and one of those folks is Dan Gilbert. He's looking to put it on because he's got a lot of his employees moving to the city of Detroit, and now it's affecting his business. He's got employees who are now getting hit with this huge auto tax, if you want to call it that. This insurance is huge. So now he's saying, look, I will get involved in this, legislators, not talking to us, because it's a state issue, but the folks out in Manistee, out in Alpena, they don't have the same issues that we have. They don't feel as passionate about it. And a lot of those folks have connections that have nothing to do with us. But Dan Gilbert and his crew, they have the connection to them. And so he's saying, if you don't do it, I'm going to put my financial resources behind a ballot initiative to reduce to address the issue of our auto insurance in the state of Michigan.
Well, I don't know.
And not just the city of Detroit, the state of Michigan.
I don't know if he'll address that because he's behind a lot of the businesses that are drawing all the extra traffic into the city.
That's why he wants to do it.
I don't think he'll be interested in that. That might get buried.
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. First.
I got a question. So the house right across the street from us, it's been empty. Nobody's been living in it physically for several years. And every year there's like a different owner. You never see them. They buy the house. And then recently in October it was a Reach Realty company. And I found out they're based in Southfield. And they were showing the house. It started at $40,000. Now it's down to $28,000, but it's not listed anymore. It says. Anyways, our thing is, who's responsible to cut the grass? Because you know, we already got, Danny and I do 3 other lawns, and I called the Reach Realty, and they're like, oh, we'll get back with you. And they're probably not responsible, I guess, or, yeah.
No, I mean, they're the ones selling the property. They are.
Yeah, I don't, so what do we do about that? There's
So-
2 right now that we're trying to, you know, like, we're tired of doing all the grass and.
So we've got our Randy Schumann, who is the individual from Building and Safety Environmental Department that goes out and investigates and tickets those kind of locations. Give us the information and we will pass it on to him, but we'll also provide you with Randy's phone number as well and Latrice, so we can have them follow up on that. Absolutely. Anyone else?
I just got a text on the phone. The young lady was asking me, she said her grandson just got hit by a car. And she just texted me and she said, please ask Councilman Tate to address the issue on Westmoreland. Let me see. She said Westmoreland and Cambridge. They're doing 60 to 70 miles an hour down the street. She said, please ask him if additional police officers could be out. My grandson was just hit by a car. And he kept going. She said he didn't get hurt. He's not hurt. But she just texted me. She just texted me, so I have to talk to her.
Text her.
I will.
And ask her to report it, because now's the time to do it, because that vehicle is out and about.
Right. And she's saying that this is a common thing. She said they drive up and down like it's a freeway.
I get it. I'm sure that she communicates that to the police, because sometimes when people are okay, they don't call.
Right.
But they have the best opportunity to address it at that time.
Okay.
But absolutely, we'll get to. Look, let me say, this is one of the major issues you've been here that we get around the city. People speeding like crazy. We have we're going to be releasing this out to the community. How many of you have seen the speed humps? Okay. So I think, Josh, didn't you ask about those? All right, so Aaron, Reggie, I know I sent you guys information. Reggie, you're on the computer. Can you pull it up from the speed hump stuff that I asked you guys to take out to the community and put in your toolbox, please? What it is the City of Detroit, we're going to be rolling out these problem location for us to potentially put the speed humps into the community. We have spent, the City of Detroit, we approved speed hump, or 2,000 new speed humps for the City of Detroit. So they'll be placed in various locations throughout the City of Detroit. Remember I told you, emails, the reason why we wanted to get your information is so we can send you stuff like that. So you can provide it if you don't have an issue. Reggie will give you the information. Reggie? Aaron?
What information did you need exactly?
Information that I asked you to take out to the community.
What a speed hump is, it's a rounded, raised area of asphalt or prefabricated rubber constructed.
Not that part. The application.
Oh, the application.
You all know what the speed hump is, right?
Yeah.
All right, so we get past that part.
Okay, I have the application here.
What does the application say? Describe the application.
It's written. I was on the right one. Okay, 1 second.
Just throw stuff at it. Like, what is that?
Stuff that you already had that I told you that I was going to ask you to take out to the community.
We got it.
I'm just saying.
And I caught it. Okay, here we go. All right, so it's talking about why does the city of Detroit choose where to install speed humps?
Yes. Aaron, Josh, I think he said he pulled it up as well. I got it.
So do you fill out an application?
Yes. Yes.
I can answer.
Yes.
Right. So
I got a question too.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, the speed hump program, what they're doing is they're looking to find more places to put them. There's an application that we have available to you that we can send out to you as well as provide to you at our meetings that we come to. to list the criteria for it. And the criteria for those meetings basically says how much traffic goes through the area, where do you want. I signed in, that information can be sent to you. That's about it, honestly.
So what happens is, thank you. What happens is they submit, because I know I sent you guys, I want you, make sure you look at the dialogue that I sent you from Ms. Fulton, because that is what I want to make sure we get out to the community, guys. The request will then go, that you will send, will submit it to the district manager in our office will come together and figure out for the entire district where these things should be placed. We'll make the recommendation to the department. Everybody, I'm going to tell you right now, there has been a huge demand, if you will. A lot of folks have said they want them in their neighborhoods. They like them. We've got them not terribly far from where I live, across from a school, Cook, and it has slowed, because Cook's off of Puritan. And it's always had my neighbors who live right behind me complain about it. And I've asked for, like you said, we need more police officers, we need more signage, we need all this. Done some of those things, and you can only do it for so long. You can only put police officers at the location for so long before they got to go and do something else. And that's when the stuff starts up again. With the speed humps, it has tremendously reduced the amount of traffic. And I know, Josh, when you first came down, you were asking, why don't we have them in other places in the city?
Yeah.
And this is not. Is it compatible with the snowplow equipment? We've since identified that yes, it does.
Can I add more to it, please, real quick? So just because you call this application doesn't mean you're guaranteed speed. 25 miles per hour speed limits, and you have to. Again, it has
a big trip, 200 or 4,000.
I mean, that's what they have down there. Accidents on the area. So if you're a regular side street, not much speed, you just want one. So in the district we had 2. If you want to see one that's in action now, alley-oops. Alley-oops. I'm throwing basketballs to you.
What's the second location?
Will they stop ATV?
I got you a quick question.
Quick question. Because we got to wrap up. We're about to get up on our 1 o'clock.
So 2,000 sounds like a lot, but it's not. And that we're happy this is going forward. But maybe there could be some type of thing where people of a block get together and pay a unit price for those, so that it's not going to be approved. I mean, it's an idea. I'm just throwing it out.
Before that would be my first way to do it, because I have an aversion to asking people to pay more for city services, essentially. But let us get this implementation first, and that may be something to talk about. But I'm not feeling it yet. Daniela, I think, is Mike over there with you? Or something? Oh, Mr. Hall. Got one over here. Anybody else before we wrap up? So 1. All right, this will be our last speaker.
It's a question I was starting to talk about before. The city is rolling out a program for rental properties, and the question was, this type program, is the city council made aware of the type of program that certain departments within the city of Detroit rolls out that affects the community. Now, this one in particular affects landlords in the community.
Yes, sir.
And in the program, I think it's a good program, but it only just touches a small portion of the issues we have with the conditions of the homes within the community. So it's not just the landlord's problem, but then it's rolled out. And then I'll just tell you briefly about the program. It's basically landlords now have to register rental properties. And that's something that
Well, you know,
had to do
city
anyway.
council actually approved the ordinance, so that's the city council ordinance.
Ordinance, right.
Yes.
And it just hasn't been enforced recently. A lot of property was sold and the city inspection was not required, it was waived or whatever. So it's not something new, but they're kind of enforcing it, but a different way. As a landlord, you are required to register the property once. And when it was rolled out, that's all you were told to do, is to register the property. I did receive blight violations a couple of weeks ago about it. And I got a little upset about it, but I'm over that part of it. Because I think it's probably going to be a good program. But it would also be a good program, and if the city council was involved with it, because the rental properties represents only a small portion of the properties within the neighborhoods. And there's homes in the neighborhood that don't meet city code, that people are living in. And some that were bought 30 years ago and there's no work been done on it.
So I'll tell you the reason why the focus is certainly on the residential is because you have landlords who take advantage of families and people.
Okay.
And so you have folks who, it's different when it's your house and you moved into it and it's your maintenance. But it's another thing if you rent a home or property and you have, you know, your house falling, the property where you stand falling down around you, and you go to your landlord and you're asking them to make these repairs and they choose not to. Well, that was in your agreement. But you will either have to go and try to drag out this long, lengthy, and potentially expensive court battle with this individual, or you can utilize the process that we put in place that would allow you to put your money in your rent in escrow until that property or that landlord makes those repairs. But you would have to go before the court, and then whoever loses would have to pay those court fees, as opposed to going back and basically draining your pockets to fight something that's already written in your agreement. So that's why we decided to focus, laser beam focus on rental properties, because you have a lot of our properties now, unfortunately, in the city of Detroit, a great number of them are rental properties. When they used to be a homeowner occupied, that's not the case anymore. When the downfall occurred in 2008, a lot of these homeowners ended up either losing their homes and walking away, you name it. But a lot of those properties, they didn't just disappear, they're still there. But they're owned by some other folks because they were foreclosed on, and they are looking to cash in. But some of them, a lot of them, unfortunately, aren't doing what's necessary to take care of properties. They didn't care about the upkeep. They just want to look at the investment and what I can get moving forward. So that's why we're focusing on those properties. But there's some areas within the rental property inspection ordinance that you want us to address, tweak, because there may be some changes coming forward dealing with the lead paint portion of it.
Well, that's included though.
That's what I'm saying. So what I'm saying is there may be some adjustments that we're looking at, because we have been talking to landowners, we've been talking to a lot of folks and trying to figure out, is this the best ordinance that we can put in place? What can we do that won't hurt you, but also won't hurt them either? And so we are now, you put something in place, let it breathe a little bit, figure out where you need to adjust it, and that's where we are right now, looking at what adjustments. Because what we put in place thus far hasn't been doing what we wanted to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that answers my question.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. If you have further, because you got to look like I might.
Well, yeah, I mean, I would talk about the other side.
Well, we can.
The landlord side. I want to talk about the tenant side.
Well, no, both.
I am the landlord, and as we tweak it going forward, the landlord isn't 100% of the problem all the time.
I agree.
We got some bad landlords, and we got some good landlords, and we got some bad tenants. Or against bad tenants. I mean, you can repair the house every year, and these people move from house to house, and it doesn't affect me, because I got really good tenants And that's because I treat them nice.
Yeah.
And they got a nice place to live, and the rent is affordable.
Well, there you go.
You know.
But again, you have a good relationship with your tenants. This whole thing won't affect you at all.
Yeah.
Because you're already doing the work. But there are some who just don't care.
I agree.
Individuals like you, or it's a company. So I care about you. I don't have the same feeling about this company. So I will create an ordinance that will address this company, but have a little bit more of a compassion for you, because you're not trying to make billions of dollars. You got a property you're trying to rent out, probably keep it in your family, and maybe make some money too, right? But you're not trying to go in and be predatory. They should be treated differently than individuals, me personally. Yeah. So, real quick.
Have you ever thought about doing a website where you have the tenants' information on the website to know whether they're professionals and scam the landlords? Because I'm a landlord. And if we had a website to put, because any one of my tenants that rent from me, I have to get their social security number and their license.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have a website, and if they skip on me and they bad and they don't pay and they get evicted, they'll get on the list, the evictions list. Rent to them.
So, all right. So now here's a counterpoint. What if you got a bad landlord who just want to put somebody in that?
On the database.
Well, but which one do you? So which one is legit? So what I'm saying is, which one is legit? Because who's inputting this?
They have landlords and they have tenants, and they issue vouchers. But if you skip out and you don't Section 8, and I don't care if you move anywhere in the United States now, they can track you. It's not you just skip out in Detroit and move to Chicago or Atlanta and you get a clean slate. You know, and it took years to get there. But we don't have it if they're not Section 8 tenants.
Right.
Then that's what she was.
Again, if you're in government or subsidized housing, there's some things that you have to agree to that are different than if you're. I don't weigh them equally. Because when you have government housing, now you have agreed to. Yeah, essentially, you agreed to comply. But the last thing I want to do is tell you how to operate your property. That's the last thing I want to do. But I want to make sure that I protect you and whoever you are placing into your facilities. But I want as little, as government standpoint, as possible to do with how you operate your business.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Okay, speaking of landlords.
Yes, ma'am.
21347, that swimming pool I keep talking about, and no one has given me an answer.
Daniela? So she's gonna take the mic over. She's gonna give you an update. Daniela's gonna give you an update right now on what we've been doing on that property.
So with that one, I know I talked with you about that one last week. I did reach out to Latrice as well as Inspector Schumann. And so I'm following up with them again in terms of having them go out. So we had talked about the 2 properties around the corner and the swimming pool on the corner right next to you. So I still have.
We got 2 mics. Well, give Daniela a mic. Give Daniela a mic. Make sure she has one, because she's the one that's following. She doesn't need 2.
Okay,
right.
What I don't understand is it's obvious. I spoke to Mr. Schumann about they got a pole, a wooden pole, to hold up the awnings on the front porch. with a piece of cement at the bottom.
I don't disagree, but
They haven't removed it yet. It's been there for the longest. I've sent a picture to the tree and another young man. But the bottom line about that swimming pool, the renters that are there now, they cannot go in that backyard because they put that plywood over the swimming pool, which is dangerous. And I have pictures where garbage and everything else is in that swimming pool before they put the plywood over it. And now the fence is down on the Bentley side. So I spoke to a neighbor yesterday. She said the same thing I did. Someone could come along and put a dead body in that swimming pool. I live next door.
Yes, ma'am.
It's making my property value go down. Come by and look at my house.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm the only one that lives there. I take care of my property. But the idiots next door, they don't. And the city cannot get a hold of the owner, even though they pay the tickets. It's still not doing me any good.
So what we're going to do, and this has been an episodic for us. This has been about 2 years of this.
More than that.
Well, I'm just saying since we've been,
Yeah.
yes, we've been talking, and a lot of times people, you rely on your councilman, and I appreciate it, and we do what we can. In this situation, there are ordinance violations that have been put in place, and as a council member, what we do is we create laws and ordinances. It's up to the administration and departments to enforce those. And as you see, we have gotten involved and we've pushed them. Daniela just last week moved on it. We're going to follow up again. It's extremely frustrating, but by charter, I'm not allowed, we've had this conversation, I'm not allowed to direct a department to do anything. Only folks that I can, quote unquote, command to do something are the folks, in the room here who you see every week that's working with me, but I can't demand the department do it. What we can do is what we've been doing thus far, continue to raise it, but all of the departments fall under the mayor's office.
They need to condemn the house.
Again, we're sitting out there, we're requesting inspectors to go out. We're not going to stop doing that.
Right.
But this has to be raised over on the executive side at this point. Because after 2 years, you even had, I mentioned this, you talked about that property when the mayor was at Pure Word. And he said, here, go to my person.
And it's been an ongoing nothing ever since.
Yeah. So we're going to follow up again, but I'm not going to tell you something that I'm not actually able to do or can't do, because I don't think that's right. But we're going to follow up on it, and Daniela's going to get back in touch with
They need to have an ordinance when the owner doesn't respond, but yet pay the tickets. They should shut the house down. Because they're making money off the renters.
But they're paying the tickets too. And this is the problem.
But they're not resolving the problem.
I hear you. I don't disagree with you. The goal of us, for the city, is not to take people's property, even if they are bad, because now it becomes our problem. What we've got to do is try to increase compliance. Haven't figured it out yet at that location, it appears.
Well, start raising the chickens then.
That's an option. Yes, ma'am.
We do want to be considerate.
Those who don't pay will not pay more. So, thank you all. Before we wrap up, remember we told you about the area along Grand River that is going under reconstruction. We're doing a cash flash. We mentioned to you all we're trying to do what we can to secure the businesses along that stretch. Aaron and Edwina has been doing a tremendous job in working with the businesses within the area. And Aaron has been working on a project that is going to be ready for June 26th, right, Aaron?
Yes.
Tell us about that project.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hello. Thank you for the one person that actually responded. I appreciate that. So, ladies and gentlemen, we will be having an event in support of that Grand River construction on June 26th. Everybody, please write that down. June 26th from 6:30 to 8 o'clock p.m. Now, who's familiar with our Cash Flash initiative? Please raise your hand. One person, two people, cool. All right. Okay, we got 4. Amen. Do we have 5? Do we have 5? 5 going once, twice, and so. All right, folks. So our Cash Flash initiative is basically constructed by Councilman Tate here, where we, the community, go out and support a business, or in this instance, a group of businesses, for programming, right? So this June 26th from 6:30 to 8:30, yes, I keep saying it again so you can write it down, we will be over on the Grand River Corridor, located between Outer Drive and, I keep saying Evergreen, yes, Outer Drive and Evergreen. We'll have outdoor programming. We'll have restaurants like DVS. We'll have Page's Bookstore. We'll have 2 DJs. We'll be over at Northwest Art Gallery, where they're having an art contest, and we'll be announcing their winners of their photography contest. So you can go in there and doing the event as well. We'll have different organizations out there providing lessons and programming and things of that nature. We'll have yes, you stole my thunder. Appreciate that. We will have food trucks. Yes, I am rushing, but it's going to be a great time. Those flyers will be coming out soon. Please be on the lookout. We hope that you will join us. Please come out and join us.
And again,
come out.
Is the kind of stuff that we send out to you. It's important, again, to make sure we help secure these businesses because they're in our neighborhood. We've told many of the businesses as well, you've got to be more of a part of the community too. You can't just expect people to come in just because you're here. It's got to be a reciprocal relationship. Reciprocity is important, but even if that business shut down, if that business owner doesn't live here, it doesn't affect it. For a few minutes, come on by, but it's all about supporting and building our community. All right?
It's a great time just to come hang out with me, right?
And on that note, we want to thank you all for being here. God willing, we'll be here in 2 weeks. See you tomorrow.
Nobody can phone. No.